Welcome back to America on the Road for Road Test Time with Chris Teague. This is Jackie Red back with you, and we're so happy you're with us. We really do appreciate it. And if you like America on the Road, please look for us on YouTube and Rumble. We have video content there, and of course, join us each week here on America on the Road. We do appreciate it. Chris, you were driving a vehicle that we talked about in the previous segment as being, maybe the subject of merger rumors. That kind of doesn't affect you as a consumer out there, but tell us about this Ram 1500 pickup truck.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens with Ram's parent company. But in the meantime, the 2025 Ram 1500, I spent the week behind the wheel of the Rebel trim. You can get into this truck in the basic tradesman model, which has vinyl seats and vinyl flooring and all that stuff, for just over $42,000. My Rebel trim was just under $70,000 with options. And then the top tungsten model, which I believe you talked about a few weeks ago, Jack, is just under $90,000 to start. So Ram made a bunch of upgrades to the truck for 2025. It's kind of, you can call it a heavy mid-cycle refresh here. Got cosmetic changes outside. But the biggest story here is the new engine. So they got rid of the Hemi V8s and went in favor of a V6 or six-cylinder only lineup here. Before I go too far, Jack, what do you think about the new inline six versus the old Hemi?
I think the new inline six is really cool. Inline sixes are inherently balanced, so that sends me back to my BMW days. And a bunch of six-cylinder engines that we had in America, tons of them when I was a kid. So I like that. What I have found with that engine, though, is it doesn't have the fuel economy benefits that maybe you would think it would have versus the Hemi. I bet you're going to talk about that.
Yeah, it doesn't have the fuel economy benefits that you would expect coming out of a Hemi, but I think there's some emissions benefits and things like that. And the turbochargers will also help towing, especially if you're in higher altitudes. So we can get into that in just a minute. The base engine here, though, is familiar for Chrysler Stellantis fans. It's the Pentastar 3.6 liter V6. You get 305 horsepower, 269 pound-feet of torque. Perfectly fine engine, so there's really nothing to write home about it there, though. But the twin turbo 3.0 liter inline six that came with my truck had 420 horsepower, 469 pound-feet of torque, and power reached all four wheels through an 8-speed automatic. If you go up to the Tungsten and the Longhorn and a couple of the top trims in this lineup, you get a high output version of that engine with 540 horsepower and 521 pound-feet of torque. So significant steps that you're going up here. The mid-range engine, I will say, though, is very smooth. As you said, the inline six engines are buttery smooth. The only thing I really missed here, other than the fuel economy, Jack, is the sound, right? One of the things I really liked about Ram's Hemi engines was they really leaned into the exhaust note and that throaty sound of a V8, and you just don't get that here, which for a lot of people won't matter. So I don't think that's
But I know it matters to you, Chris, and I applaud you for that. You're a musical kind of guy, apparently.
I am a musical kind of guy, but I'm also not a Ram truck owner, so I don't know how much complaining I can do here before people start to call me out. The 8-speed transmission is very smooth. It never seemed to search for gears like you find with Ford's 10-speed or Honda's 10-speed in some of their SUVs. It settles into a gear and it operates smoothly. Throttle response, I mean, it's a pickup truck, so you're not going to be, at least I hope you're not going to be drag racing too much, but I wouldn't call this the most responsive powertrain I've ever experienced in a pickup truck, but the power and the torque are there. And I think that, for people who, need those things, that you're not going to miss a lot from the Hemi V8. Inside, you get, as I mentioned before, you get vinyl upholstery, vinyl flooring in the tradesman model. That is a basic stripped out work truck. So you're going to buy that if you in construction or if you have a fleet of trucks that need to go out and get dirty. This mid-range Rebel model has a few options. So it comes standard with cloth upholstery. Mine had heated and ventilated seats with leather upholstery, panoramic sunroof. And so plenty of options here. And this is a full-size truck, Jack, so I want to get your opinion on it. I don't know how many children you've hauled around in a full-size pickup truck, but what do you think about the Ram's interior space?
I have hauled around quite a few, or my own children anyway, and maybe some other people's children at times. I wasn't kidnapping them, but they were riding along with my children. I want to make that clear. And I think it's one of the most comfortable vehicles out there, no matter what. I mean, I think as long as you're only having 5 people in it, I mean, it's super comfortable. That rear seat has plenty of leg room, plenty of width. I think the seats are pretty supportive for a bench kind of seat. I think it's terrific that way.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the Ram 1500 is that we're now 6 years into this generation with the 2025 model. And the interior is still one of the nicest, most comfortable trucks that you can, full-size truck interiors that you can get. And that's after, Chevrolet GMC updated their truck significantly for the 2023 model year. So no real complaints about the interior here. The truck comes standard now with an 8.4-inch infotainment display, but you get a 12-inch screen stepping up one screen, one trim. And my truck came with a huge 14.4-inch display and a passenger display, Jack. So you have a digital gauge cluster, a giant touchscreen, and then a passenger touchscreen in this truck. So I don't really know what else you could expect from a pickup truck, but wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. My truck had a Harman Kardon stereo, and then you can get a full suite of safety equipment here, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alerts, and so on. So, I think Ram made a substantive update to this truck for 2025. I think it's still, as I said earlier, one of the most comfortable trucks in the class with one of the nicest interiors. The inline six engine, I would urge someone to go drive this truck before, especially if they're coming out of the V8. But I saw no issues with it at all.
I didn't see any issues with it either. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of them on the road for a long period of time, like we have with the Hemi V8. So we kind of know the longevity of that kind of engine. I also kind of like the simplicity of a naturally aspirated engine versus a turbo. So the old Hemi has that going for it. I might be tempted at this point in time, in these months, to look for an old one that had a Hemi in it, and an older model, maybe 1 year old or something like that. I might go that direction instead. But that's the Luddite in me, Chris.
Yeah, I think I would probably go the same route. But if you go on a couple of years back, you're still going to get the nice interior and most of the tech features too.
Yeah. So nothing wrong with getting a 2-year-old off-lease Ram 1500, I think, depending on how it was used. So there's that.